So hello everyone, I am Brianna Rossett, Small Business Center's Office and Events Coordinator here. I guess not here, we're virtual now, so in the office. I'd like to introduce Teresa Gannon here. She is here to chat a little about managing your social media. So for the people that just came in too, I just want to remind you to stay on mute, as well as if you have any questions at all, please direct them to the chat and I will let Teresa know and she will answer your questions. So, and then we'll have some time at the very end too to answer any other questions that you may have that are a little more specific to you. All right, and I'm just going to pass it over to Teresa.
Alrighty, I should be able to share my screen, right?
Yes, you should.
Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've prepared my presentation on Canva. So if you've never used Canva before, I highly recommend because it is a lifesaver, especially for small businesses. So let me just get set up here and we'll get started. All right, so today we're talking about managing your social media. So today we're going to be covering developing social media strategies. So in that, we're going to be talking about understanding your target market, which platforms will work best for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about content types and the mixes. I'm going to do it very briefly because everybody is different, especially in the service or the product-based industries. Your targeting and how you approach marketing is different. So I'm just going to touch very briefly about your options, and then you can decide from there what works best for your business. I'm going to talk a little bit about cross-channel posting, interacting and engaging with your followers, and then just briefly mention automated messages. I'm also going to go over creating editorial calendars. So don't fret about trying to write down everything that I say, because I do have a file that I'm going to be sending Brianna at the end of the webinar that she can send with the recording of the Zoom so that you can have it. This is just one that I use for my business, like in my business. So if you don't like it, or if you've got another way, that's totally fine. I just like to provide the resources to make life a lot easier for you. I'm going to talk about tips for creating engaging captions and content, how to organize your content, how to read your analytics on your business pages, and then a brief mention about free and paid apps that help me save time when I'm doing my marketing. So getting started, so I just want to talk a little bit about who I am, because some of you may know Jenny, who is the owner of Simple Desk, but I'm the head of marketing there. I've been working there for over a year now. So we are a small business outsourcing solutions company that really provides affordable support for small businesses across Canada. My particular role, I do everything marketing. So that's social media, email, Facebook ads, copywriting, blogging, SEO, all that kind of good stuff. I am a mom of one and I freelance on the side doing marketing. So that keeps me very busy. I feel like sometimes I can relate a little bit to small business owners because my life is very hectic. So I definitely understand that this particular presentation may really help streamline a lot of your processes. So I've really just tried to recommend what I find is most helpful. I did get my start in marketing in the nonprofit industry in Kingston. So I've worked in nonprofit, housing, publishing, and now I work with clients in various industries. So Simple Desk, I work in multiple industries, product and service based. So I've often worked for small businesses, which means I've worn many hats. So again, my suggestions during this presentation are all based off of my experiences and my trial and error. With marketing, working for a lot of small businesses, I have had to take on a lot of roles, and often I'm the only person doing marketing for an entire business. So it can get very overwhelming if you don't structure and organize yourself. At my last job, when I lived in Peterborough, I worked for one of North America's largest publishing companies, and I handled 100 clients on my own. So I spent a lot of time organizing my calendar and setting up due dates and corresponding with clients. So my experience ranges a lot. So hopefully I'm able to talk a little bit about my experience and help you out with your business. So let's talk about developing social media strategies. So the very first thing, if you've attended my presentation before, is you need to understand your target market. So a lot of the time, small business owners are just really excited about what it is that they do. But sometimes they market for themselves. They say, you know what, this is my baby, but I really like this. I really like these colors, or I like this style of talking to people. But that's not necessarily your target audience. Unless you specifically are your target audience, that's not how you're going to want to communicate. You're going to want to take the time to do some market research. So understanding what age these people are in, what's the gender, what location, what do they like, what do they dislike. You're going to want to really figure out their needs and pain points, because it's, for example, if you're marketing to somebody and they're in the 25 to 30 range, how you put together content or how you speak to them, your tone and how you communicate ideas is different than somebody that's in the 60 to 65 range. So those are different target markets. They have different needs, and your content needs to suit that particular target audience. What I always say to people when I'm talking about what their goal is or who they're talking to when they're trying to market is, what do you offer to improve your ideal consumers' lives, and why should they choose you over the competition? So this is called a unique value proposition. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in, there's always a ton of competition. So you have to make yourself indispensable to somebody and show them why they want to choose you over somebody else. What do you offer them? What need do you fulfill that really makes them want to choose you over somebody else? Once you've understood what your target market is, the next thing that you're going to want to think about is, what platform do they prefer? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, email? What is it that you can use to communicate with them? So we know from countless studies that the older demographic favors Facebook over Instagram. So if your demographic is older, that's obviously a platform you're going to want to explore. You're not going to want to waste a lot of time on a platform that doesn't reach your target audience. As well, you're also going to want to understand, how is my ideal target audience viewing my material? Is it going to be on desktop? Is it going to be on mobile? How are they seeing it? Because that's going to ultimately determine sizing. So what your pictures or what your video or how long your captions are, that's all going to factor into how people are viewing it. So you're really going to want to understand right from the get-go who these people are and how they want to be receiving messages. When we're talking about marketing, I'm going to talk about how you should pick multiple types for a well-rounded content mix. So again, how does your target audience like to receive information? Do they prefer video? Do they prefer blogs they like to read on their own? There's so many different options. So there's Facebook and Instagram stories, there's text posts, there's photos, videos, links, so like blogs, carousels, IGTV, reels, all that kind of good stuff. It's really up to you to determine what's the most effective. And when I say that, I think sometimes people think, oh, I know video is the best way to communicate with my ideal target audience, so I'm just going to do video. I don't normally recommend that. What I recommend is figuring out if it is video that works the best for you. Use that to really hit home the important parts. So if you've got a new product or if you've got a new service and you're kind of ramping up to that, use video as kind of the main talking point. So on the day that it launches, you want to do like a video about that product or service, but you should also be kind of like doing email or doing like little teaser posts on Facebook and Instagram or whatever platform to kind of lead up to that. You want them to get excited. Anytime that you're doing anything, you kind of want to like just push them along. You don't want to just drop something and leave it at that. So I will always recommend try different types and see what's effective. I will go over a little bit about reading analytics and how you can tell which post types are most effective for you. And again, just always keep it like fresh, keep mixing things up. Don't just do the same thing every time. When I'm talking about cross-channel posting, what I mean is that you're going to be using the same content across all platforms. You just want to make sure that it's sized correctly. So sometimes people say, well, I don't want to be redundant, but this actually creates a solid brand strategy and a consistent message. So if you're posting something on Facebook with the current reach, with the algorithm, organic reach, so just posting and people seeing it isn't great. It seems like they're really pushing towards paid advertising or boosting posts just to get your message across to your following. So it's always good to cover your bases by sharing it on Instagram, especially if your target market uses both. That way you're just making sure that everybody's seeing it where they can. And again, just make sure things are sized correctly, because images on Instagram are different sizes than images on Facebook. If you create a Facebook image and use it on Instagram, it may very well be cropped and it won't look good on your feed, which you don't want, because Instagram is very content driven. So if somebody's looking at your feed and they want to follow you and everything's cropped and doesn't look right, it's going to really deter them from following you. I always say engage with your followers as much as you can. So try to respond to questions and comments in a timely fashion. create content that encourages engagement or a response from your audience, and then try to respond to messages as quickly as you can. So if that's not an option for you, like say your small business is like a side hustle for you, or you're just really busy in a day, you can set up automated messages on Facebook and Instagram. They can still be very personalized and deploy at a correct time. So it just makes your consumer feel like they're being heard, even if you can't respond right away. There's been lots of studies done that when somebody sends a message and say it takes even a few hours for you to get back to them, it really deters them from going with you because they like to feel important. They like to feel like their business is top of mind for you. When you're creating posts, be authentic. So be yourself, be honest, and focus on your tone. Like, do you want to be fun? Do you want to be authoritative? Do you want to be honest? How do you want to present yourself? So a lot of times with product-based businesses, we see people posting just pictures of their product and being like, oh, this product is great for blah, 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 blah. Well, that's great to know, but I can just go on your website and find that information out. You're not really giving me anything that makes me really want to buy this product. So for example, say you've got all natural candles and you just post a picture and you say, our all natural candles are great for your house. Okay, that doesn't really entice somebody to buy, but you could say something to the effect of, traditional candles or store-bought candles come with a lot of harmful chemicals, which in turn are harmful to your children or your pets or your overall health. So you're hitting a pain point where traditional candles might not necessarily be safe for people to use in their house. So, and you're really targeting them and their feelings and their emotions for, I want to keep my family safe. I want to use all natural products. This candle, I can still enjoy candles and burn them safely for like in my home. So that's just an example of how you really appeal to somebody's needs as opposed to just direct selling your product. And then one of the big things I advocate for, if you have been attending my webinars before, is using Canva. So if you're just starting out, try signing up for Canva. I do recommend the paid version. It costs about $15, $16 a month, but it does come with pre-branded templates so that you can use those as is and just switch up your branding, so your colors and your text, or you can just take things that you like and kind of create your own. So it's really good for people who might not necessarily have any design skill or just kind of working on it and are very overwhelmed by Photoshop, because there's a lot of stuff to learn and it's a constant platform to learn from. Canva is a great way to really kind of step up your social media and have it look nice without having to put a lot of effort into figuring out how to learn design. Last but not least, brand all your content. So your brand color, fonts, images that align with your brand, all should be front and center. So you really want to figure out what your brand looks like. So what are the colors that you're going to use? What are your fonts? How do you want to be presented? How do you want to say that message? That should always be at the forefront, so that anytime somebody's just scrolling and they see something that's branded, they stop and be like, oh, I know so-and-so and I want to support them, so I'm going to stop and have a look at their content. That's why I always recommend branding as much as possible. Plan ahead. So I will tell you, I've been working in the industry for almost 6 years now. And I've worked for a lot of small businesses where I've been the only one doing marketing. And I've told myself time and time again, I don't have time to sit down and organize because there's things that have specific deadlines that I need to do. And that is a terrible way to think. Like, I don't know how many people here are small business owners or are maybe just starting out in marketing and may just be looking for some tips, but that is a very harmful way to think, because you will get, it's like you're watching pretty much a typhoon coming your way and you can't get out of the way, because you start getting, as a small business owner, you've got so much stuff to do. You start getting busy with one thing and then you forget, oh, I didn't post today, or I didn't come up with content. So then you're scrambling to put something together. It doesn't always look as good as you would like for it to. It doesn't really communicate your brand because you're rushing. So plan ahead as much as you can. So for contests, new product launches, anything new and upcoming, you need to stagger your posts to excite people. You shouldn't just be, oh, I'm having a contest and today's the day to enter. You should be creating posts, various type, to kind of lead up to the excitement of something new happening with your business. So I've done a little example here to make it a little bit clearer. So say you have a new product launching next month. So your strategy may include a vague post about something new launching that they'll want to be on the lookout for. So keep an eye on our social media and just keep checking back to see when we're going to be making more announcements about this new product. You may decide to stagger a post per week just to keep that excitement coming. Then you might want to send an email with a discount as a thank you to your followers who are part of your email community. So they'll be the first kind of people to try the new product or service. And then when you make the big announcement on your social medias about the particular product, you can always say, the people on our email list receive like a discount or are the first to try this. And then that gives them an incentive and a purpose to go sign up for your email list. So I think sometimes with social media, people just think it's posting for engagement, but there's so many different types and so many different ways that we use social media. It's not just for likes or comments or shares. It's to get people to sign up for our email, or it's to get people to buy a product or to try something out. It's not just for likes and comments. It all leads up and it all adds up to something, a desired action that you want somebody to take. So
So there's a question here, Teresa.
yeah, absolutely.
How many lead up posts do you recommend?
It really depends. So like it depends on what you're leading up to. But I find sometimes people will use a week and then like we'll do a week long launch and they'll do 3 posts a week. It really depends on how your followers really respond to your content. But I always say, like, if it's going to be something in the next month, 1 time a week usually is pretty good. Sometimes people will do, like, if it's a new product or something, they'll drop little hints and then that'll be 1 post a week. And then they'll say, oh, we worked with so-and-so, and that'll be a next post. So you just kind of keep the excitement, don't quite give it away, but you're just kind of building that anticipation for the big announcement. And that really keeps people engaged with their social media because they'll really be keeping an eye on what new thing that you're coming out with. So with social media, there's no rule book specifically that works for everybody. So for some people, they want to post every day, which I don't normally recommend. I find 3 posts a week usually is pretty good, but it's really up to you to determine how often you want to post and how frequently that is and what that looks like. So I can give, if you were to email me and say, Teresa, I've got this particular product or service and I just want your advice on how frequently I should post, I can definitely give you my personal opinion on what you should do, but there's no rule book that you're going to find online that tells you exactly how often or frequently you should post. It's all trial and error and just reading the data and letting the data really dictate what it is that works best for you. I hope that answered the question. So like I said, you always want to determine what your end goal is for each post and focus on that. So again, it's not just posting for likes. Like sometimes that can be it. You're just like, I just want to get some likes. I want to get a conversation rolling. So you might do a quote or ask people to engage with your post and talk about what they love about your brand. That's totally fine. But then you can also use social media to get people to sign up for your newsletter or to follow you on social media or join your Facebook group. So there's different things that you can do to really like maximize social media. It's not just about likes, comments, and shares and all that kind of stuff. And while that is great, it's you got to use a good content mix to kind of fill different areas of your business. So let's talk a little bit about creating editorial calendars. So there's different types of content calendars. You can sign up for an app, which I will talk about a couple of apps that some of you might be interested in. You can hand write out your editorial calendar, or you can use an Excel spreadsheet. So you really want to determine what works best for you. So do you need to be notified when you have a due date coming up? Do you need to be reminded of what you have coming up for the week? Or can you really just go on your computer and look at the file and figure out where you are? Or do you need a printed version, or do you need a whiteboard? Whatever it's going to be that works best for you, you need to determine. I definitely can't tell you what works best, but from my personal experience, I use an Excel spreadsheet and then I print it out. So that way I've got a digital copy and a physical copy. You can create your own Excel spreadsheet if you want, or download a free template for your own use. I have one that I will be sending Brianna that I work with, and I find it really helpful. So a couple of tips for creating an effective calendar is color code where possible. So anytime that you're doing anything for Facebook, you should color code it orange or whatever color you want, so that you know when you're looking visually at the calendar, okay, on Thursdays I've got a Facebook post and I've got an Instagram post. It just keeps things very separate and very easy to read, especially because if you're a small business owner, time is really money. You don't have time to be sitting down and looking at everything and be like, hey, where am I with this? You just want everything right there to kind of help you be organized. ensure everyone involved has access to that spreadsheet or software or whatever, and that tasks are delegated appropriately. So this is really for my marketers who may be attending, who are in kind of a similar thing like me, like outsourcing or work with a larger team. You want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and they have access to the calendar so that everybody knows where the business is headed. Map out your weeks or your months all at once when you're feeling inspired and motivated. Don't leave your posts to the day of because it's very stressful. And then although we're specifically focusing on social media, I also use my content calendar to track all my marketing efforts. So when I've got a Facebook ad, I'll put it on the content calendar. When I need to go do some LinkedIn, so some B2B communications, I'll put that on the content calendar too, so that I'm very organized and I know what I'm doing in a day.
So we have another question. A lot of people say content should be organic based on what's happening in the world at the time, and content calendar isn't necessarily the best way. What do you think?
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. So the reason why I say that is content calendars for me are more of a way to keep structured. It's not necessarily a dictation of what's the end all be all for social media. So Brianna's got one right there, and that's what I use my Excel spreadsheet for. It keeps me very organized, and I always stay a month ahead with my social media, especially since I deal with a lot of clients. I want them to feel involved in what I'm doing and that they have time to give their feedback, and that they're not like, oh, the deadlines for this is today and I don't have time to tell you whether or not I like it. I like to stay a month ahead, and I do my research. I say to myself, okay, here's holidays or special days that are going on in relation to my client or my particular business that I can talk about just for some engagement. I find too, especially now with COVID, it's a fine line sometimes. It's okay to talk about what's going on, and if you want to express your anger, that's fine. But I think it's such a touchy subject too, that you want to be really careful about how you tread, especially in this market. You want people to support you, and while having your own opinion is great, sometimes it's okay to separate business from your personal beliefs. Like if you're a product-based business, you're not going to want to be talking about that at all times. You want to be focused on marketing efforts. I can give you an example of that. I work with a company specifically who manufactures natural air cleaners. And when we want to talk about something like that's going on in the world, we talk about how indoor air quality really affects your health. So it contributes to asthma or whatever. So really focus, now that you're at home and you're being exposed to that more, why not turn your focus on cleaning your air and making sure that you have the best products possible instead of using chemicals and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like, yeah, yes, it's okay to talk about like what's going on, but at the end of the day, you're still a business and you have to be, it is a fine line to tread. So I hope that answered that one. Was there another one that came up, Brianna?
Yeah, the same person said, can you share with us an example of one of your content calendars for your clients so it's easier for us to visualize?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to I have screenshots of my calendar, but then I can also go into my Excel and show you, but it will come up on the next slides, if that's okay. Okay, so this is my preferred style of an editorial calendar. So I'm not sure if you can see my Zoom over here. I'll try to move it down. But you can see, here's my content calendar. So it's just a simple Excel spreadsheet. I've got a key here, which is essentially my color coordinated things, and it'll tell me what specifically it is. So this is the one that I use. So I'll say here, it'll be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. I have all that color coded, and then I put it into the specific days. So you'll see here, as I'm looking at this content calendar, it keeps me very structured. Okay, have I done this particular task or topic that I want to address this week? And I always try to do it in advance. I never try to do any of this stuff the week of, because like I said, it's just too stressful. I always try to stay a few weeks to a month ahead. So that way I am feeling confident in what I'm doing. Because if you're rushing, it shows in the quality of your work. No matter how skilled you are, you can just tell the difference between something that's been like a labor of love and you've spent time on it, as opposed to just rushing to get something out. So that's what my main content calendar looks like that I print out. And this is what I call a content repository. So when I've talked about, so this one back here, I use to just talk about topics. I can go back. So this is just topics. So this is, if I'm going to be posting on Facebook, what topic do I want to cover? Then the content repository is where I put things like, what website do I want people to go to for this particular post? Or what blog post am I featuring? Then I just put things like, what's the title? What's the link? What's something interesting that I can talk about? And then if I'm using Canva or Dropbox, where's the link for the image in association with that particular post where I can just grab it and schedule it as needed. So with my Excel spreadsheet, I guess I should be clear that it's a one whole document with multiple like spreadsheets within. So I also create an Excel spreadsheet for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever avenue I'm using. I have an Excel spreadsheet for that, and they all look different depending on what you need to make a post, because you need different things for different social media platforms. So here's an example of an Instagram Excel spreadsheet I use in my larger Excel document. So you can see I'll have the date, I'll have the time, when I want to post it, when's the best time to post it, what my caption is, what the link is for the bio that I need to update if I'm using Linktree or some other kind of multi-link kind of thing to put in the bio, what the campaign is. So if it's based on holidays, if it's based off of a contest, what's it in relation to? And then again, a web link to that image or where I can find that image. So this just keeps it very structured. So in the event that I do not have the time to schedule everything in advance, then I can just grab it from here. I'm not kind of scrambling to get my content. Before, I used to also keep my copy, so the text that goes with my images or my videos or whatever, in a Word document, and I also file those on my desktop. So I have everything in case a file were to get corrupted or something. I just keep multiple copies of everything just in case. So tips for creating engaging captions and content. So again, we're gonna talk about appealing to their pain points and needs. So how does what you're offering fulfill a need, want, or desire? So that's really what you wanna think about. What's unique about your business, your product, your service? What is it that makes people really want to choose you? Brand storytelling when you're creating content is my favorite, and I don't really see any need to do anything else other than brand storytelling, because you're going to be talking about your why, your inspiration, your hopes and dreams. Let them see you on a human level. So when you forge those deep bonds with somebody, it makes your audience want to support you no matter what you do. So I really don't recommend direct selling. You can still sell a product or a service while you're brand storytelling. It just seems more genuine. It seems more like you care as opposed to just trying to make money. I all the time I find things that engage people the most are pictures of my Simple Desk team and us just doing whatever, or just us being transparent about how rough it is sometimes to work from home, or our tips for creating like a good workspace when you're working in your home office. Those things, and just appealing to somebody's human nature, are what make people want to support you, because they know you on a personal level and they just want to root you on. Even if they're not going to be buying your products or service, they're more likely to recommend you to somebody who will. So just brand storytell, talk about you, be transparent. If you've got something exciting coming up, even if it has nothing to do with the business, just talk about it. And people like that. People are very attracted to that kind of messaging. So I always say ask questions and encourage engagement. So if you've got a product or service and you're like, have you ever felt like you're running behind, and say your product is like some kind of like organizing, then you can say, I felt that way too. It's totally normal. Here's my solution. And that will be my product or service. Ask people to talk about what they love about your business in the comments, or tag somebody that may benefit from your service or product. So have strong call to action where possible. You don't always have to do posts with call to actions. You can just say, you can just post a quote and just leave it at that. It doesn't always have to be buy this product, do this. It doesn't need to be like that. Sometimes you just create content for the sake of engaging. It's not, everything has a purpose, and engagement sometimes is the purpose. Keep your captions short and sweet, especially on Instagram. The less text that you can have, the better. The more people have to read, it really detracts from the message. So keep everything very short and to the point. And then find the most sought after hashtags in relation to your content and use those. So I find there's a big debate right now about whether or not hashtags are better in the comments or in the actual caption. There's been a lot of data that suggests that it doesn't really matter. It's just about how you visually like it. So a lot of times people will separate their hashtags with like slashes. You do not need to do that. And I don't really recommend doing that, because aesthetically it looks very poorly. It's not very attractive. So it's up to you whether or not you want the hashtags in the caption or if you want it in the comments. For me, it doesn't make a difference. It's just up to you and how you want things to look. But you're really going to want to do your research. So who's in my industry? What tags are they using? What content's being the most engaged with that is utilizing those tags? And those are the tags that you're going to want to go with. Okay, I'm going to talk very briefly about organizing your content because in my experience, it's very easy to get overwhelmed, especially when I'm working with small business owners. I work with small business owners all the time that are just in a panic because they forgot something or they want to talk about something, but they don't have all their ducks in a row. So you need to organize in order to keep yourself from burning out and getting completely overwhelmed. So, and I say that with all the love because I love my clients. They're amazing, but the best I can do for them is try to organize and support them where I can. So this is why I recommend this. So you're going to want to create different spreadsheets. So the content repository, the Instagram Excel spreadsheet that I showed you, those are all different spreadsheets to keep your copy, your images, and everything together so that it's very easy for you to find that in the event that you need to do something quick. Use a software like Dropbox to create folders that you can organize. So anything Facebook related should have its own folder. Everything Instagram related should have its own folder. Canva also has that folder option where you can store the images directly in there. I do that with my clients sometimes and they prefer that. So it's just a good way to find something if you ever need to just hop on and grab something. I do recommend purchasing a hard drive and backing up all of your files that are you should do this anyway for all your files, but social media especially if you're going to be hiring people and you want to kind of like onboard them in. You just want to make everything easy for them to find and kind of get a feel for your brand and your business. And then systemize your whole process. So create branded templates for an easier design process. You can do this in Canva, you can do this in Photoshop, whatever you prefer. But I always, when I'm working with people, I do a good content mix. So sometimes it's pictures of quotes or it's a definition of a particular word in relation to their business or whatever. I always have branded templates so that it kind of has the same feel and stays very on brand as opposed to just kind of throwing something out there and it doesn't look right. So create templates that people can use and alter as they need to, but that it still is very branded to your business. And then set aside a few days or a few days if you need to. I usually only use one, but to create your content. So capitalize on any creative moment that you have to design and do a few weeks worth of a few weeks to a month worth of content. Because like I said, it's very easy to get busy with things and then you're like, oh my gosh, it's Tuesday and I haven't posted anything and I was expecting to post on Monday and I haven't got anything for the rest of the week. So always plan ahead as much as you can and don't use the excuse that you don't have time because you will have time if you make the time. Even if it's only an hour, just to get your ducks in a row about where you're going to be going in the next couple of weeks or the next month, it's worth it for your sanity and for your business to take that time to do it. So let's talk a little bit about reading analytics and insights on social media because I find sometimes people don't know where to find these things and the data that you can read off of that really helps you kind of figure out all the things that we've been talking about. So what posts are working best? Who am I targeting? Because you might have an idea who your target market is, but you might be surprised by what the data is actually showing you on social media. So I use the information provided by social media analytics to determine what days I'm going to post, when I'm going to post them. It tells me what kind of content was the most effective and how do I improve on what didn't do well. So if I posted something and it just flopped, what was it about it that didn't really resonate with people so that I don't make that same mistake as I'm moving forward with my content creation. The insights also help me understand what types of content to use for boosted posts. So a boosted post, if you don't know, is essentially a post that's done really well organically. So you just posted it and it's got a lot of likes and whatever. Then you put like an ad spend behind it, like $15, $20 and kind of narrow down your target audience and say, I want to show this particular content to somebody. It just really helps me figure out if I'm going to take the leap to do paid advertising. Are they going to respond better to a video? Is it going to be a blog post? What do I do to really capture people so that I'm getting the most from my ad spend?
So we have another question. How do you find out what exactly didn't work well in a specific post? Wow.
Yeah, so I'll do a screenshot in a minute just to show what to look for, but essentially there's an insights section on Facebook that will break down each post. So it'll say on whatever date you posted this, and it'll show you how many people it reached, and then I'll say this is how many likes, this is how many comments it got, and it's just a good way to figure out what actually did well organically and what didn't. So I will show you visually what it looks like, but I'll also show you I'll tell you how to get there as well. So to access your Facebook analytics, you actually have to go to your business page. And on the left-hand side of your page, you will see like a bunch of like different options. You're going to want to click on the insights section. So when you do that, it's going to bring you to a new screen, and you're going to see a lot of different options. You're going to see things like follows, what your audience makeup is, how many people have viewed your page, all that kind of good stuff. So each section is really user friendly. Like, you don't have to be a marketing expert to know how to read the data. It's all broken down literally into color coded charts. So it says, this is what data we're analyzing. This is what this particular color bar or graph is telling you. It's very easy to read all of that information. Again, if anybody at the end of the presentation, if you want me to go on quickly and show you how I do it, I'm happy to do that, but it's fairly straightforward. In that page, this is what it'll look like. So for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to focus specifically on how the post performed in order to figure out which post did well. So in the Insights tab, once you click on it, on the left-hand side, there'll be another few options, and you'll want to click on the post. So when you do that, it'll break it down into a graph. So you'll see things like, when are my fans or my followers online? There'll be a breakdown of post types, and then the top posts from pages you watch. So if you're following a lot of other businesses, what's working for them? That might also give you a good idea, especially if you're following your competitors, what's working for them and what's what you can kind of capitalize on. You'll see here that it's broken down on a day by day. In the actual Insights tab, when you're in there, you'll be able to hover over like a Wednesday, and it'll give you like a line, like, okay, on Wednesday at 12, that's when most of your people are online. So that's when you're going to want to post Wednesday at 12, because the data is telling you that's when you're going to reach people the most. So for the person that asked about how do you see which post did well, this is underneath that graph. If you scroll down, you'll see something like this. So again, everything is color coded and it's very clear. So they'll tell you specifically what the colors mean. They'll tell you how many people were reached. So I think we had like 300 and something followers on Simple Desk. So this is a pretty good organic reach, because we've reached almost all of our following with that particular post. And I'll just tell you what was the clicks, what was the reactions. All this kind of stuff tells me what works good. So these two posts were a contest that we did, that was like a like share. That to me suggests that we need to be doing more contests, because the contests are really what is encouraging engagement. And when people engage with your content, Facebook is more likely to show that content to them. So for those of you that aren't aware, that might not be in the marketing industry, Facebook really prioritizes family and friend content over business content. Because of all the privacy issues and everything, they want to show you stuff that matters to you. And for them, it's a lot of the times friends, family. So if you follow a post or a page and you really like their content, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be seeing that content. So just getting people engaged in different ways helps your content appear on their newsfeed. So that's why you always want to be analyzing this data and seeing what works and what doesn't. So that way you can capitalize on those post types to get people to continue to engage and see your content.
All right, so there's a few other questions here. Continuing on from that last question, so there's nothing specific in a post that you can identify as what worked well and what didn't, just the general type of content that you assess this way, can assess this way, sorry.
So like, you mean like if say if you did a photo post or something and the photo was what got people and maybe the text wasn't so good, is that what you're asking? Like, is there different elements of a post that work?
He said yes.
Okay, so yeah, for me, I will say a lot of the times it is the actual content itself. It's the picture or it's the video or whatever, that visual piece, because by nature, especially now, we're all just scrolling and looking for something to catch our interest. We're not reading every single paragraph and being like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna stop and read that. It's the actual content itself that is what's grabbing people, and the copy just supports the message of that video or the image. So For me, a good indicator of what works well is if the post is done well, it's probably because the content itself is what has grabbed people. I hope that answers the question. It is kind of hard because it doesn't say like, oh, this particular text worked really well. The only time that you can actually determine that is if you do paid Facebook advertising and then do split A/B testing, which is where you run an ad and that particular ad might have one, so the best way to explain it is if you split test and it's like the same so it's the same picture, but then you use different copy and then you analyze the data to tell you which one performed better, then that gives you a little bit a better indicator of what in that ad worked better. But there's no specific breakdown of posts to say the copy really was what appealed to people. But in my experience, 99% of the time, it's the content is what is engaging with people.
She said, perfect, thank you. That's what I've been doing. And I wanted to validate that based on what you said before. Thank you.
No problem.
And then there's another question. I'm waiting to shift my social media posting, etc., to my assistant. Can this be done so both of us have access to all of my accounts and we can both be in, so essentially in on the social media at the same time, say example, Facebook. I know on Facebook I can add her as an admin, but can we both be using it at the same time?
Yes, yeah. So, funny thing actually is when I started with Simple Desk, it was just Jenny and myself. And I find sometimes when you're working with clients, they get really attached to you, and because you're there for them through everything, like you're creating their social media and you're listening to their problems and you're trying to find a solution and help them build their business. So when we added Shay, our office manager, and she started getting a little bit more into social media, I would ask her to just go into my Facebook and use it. Jenny and I can be on the Simple Desk Facebook at the same time and go in and have a look. So it's not like if one person is in, the other gets booted out. It's not how that works. If you add her as an admin, she can have access at the same time, see everything that you can see. It's just a good way, and it's just a lot easier for everyone to be on the same page and not have to be like, okay, log in using my Facebook. It just gives everybody the data. It's totally easy to do that. And I do recommend that if you're going to be adding somebody, you do add them as an admin, because with like a moderator or as an editor, they get less access to the data. So if they're going to be your social media person, definitely add them as an admin so they have access to everything.
All right. And then she said, perfect, thanks. And we have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do I create more engagement in my private VIP Facebook group? I have 120 members.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm finding a lot of people are moving towards Facebook groups now, because with Facebook groups, the thing is you actually get notified when somebody posts, whereas with a business page, you don't, unless you're specifically set up to get notified when they post. So one thing that I've been working on with one of my clients is offering a freebie. So we set up with group funnels. It's essentially some questions that you can ask on Facebook when somebody joins, and it gives them a freebie in like an automation. You can it really depends on what your industry is, but for this particular client that I have, is she's Pilates, yoga, Reiki based. So a lot of the time she'll post something about how she's feeling, and she specifically focused on the mid-age female community. So she'll just be saying, how do you want to feel when you're in a Pilates class, or what are some things that you want to work on? And she's encouraging them to comment, and then she can say, I understand that you want to feel stronger when you're focusing on your physical health. So here are these particular courses or classes that I recommend you take that I offer that can help you achieve that. So with a VIP group, I really recommend just like creating posts or videos or whatever, just asking people what it is they're trying to get from that, or asking them how they're doing, or on a holiday, ask them what their plans are, because then you're just encouraging them to engage and you're getting to know them as much as they're getting to know you.
So she said, I post every day with a variety of posts, videos of me, inspirational posts, products, info, etc. It's Norwex, toxic-free products for cleaning, personal care, babies, etc.
Okay, yeah. So I find with the groups too, you really want to be, I guess, picky about who you let in. So I think a lot of times, sometimes people say, oh, I have a group of 500 people. Like, isn't that amazing? But it's not really, if not all those people are engaged. So if you just invited your family and friends and whatever, and they're not actually actively involved or commenting on your posts, obviously your reach or your interaction is going to be a lot lower. Like you want to really be specific about who's in your group in order to get them engaged. So for this particular client that I mentioned that does the yoga and Pilates and has her own specific VIP group, she doesn't let anybody in that doesn't answer the questions that she sets up at the time that you ask to join the group. That shows to her that they're dedicated in what it is that she offers, and then it makes people more likely to engage because they're getting a product or service they actually want, as opposed to just adding people and them just not doing anything.
Yeah, she says, I approve each person. They're all my customers or potential customers.
Okay. I'd be happy if you wanted to send me an email. I can give Brianna my email and I have a look at what content you're posting. If you want to even just send me screenshots, I'd be happy to give you some feedback on ways to improve. It sounds like you're doing a good mix, but it could be the way that you're approaching it. I don't really know until I see it. So I need to see what it is that you're doing so I can give you my feedback on how to approach. I'd be happy to do that. Just
I'll send Teresa's email out to everybody. So if anyone wants to reach out to her, you're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah. Do you have any more questions, Brianna, or we're good? All right, let's keep this train a rolling. So Instagram Insights. So how do we get there? So if you go on your business profile, and you have to have a business profile, you can't just have your personal profile and talk about your business. You won't get these insights unless you're set up as a business profile. So you're going to want to go onto your profile, and then we'll see something that we call the hamburger menu. So on the top right hand corner, there'll be 3 lines. It's called the hamburger menu, and you're going to want to click on that. From there, you'll see a list, and it'll say insights. You're going to want to click on that. So it's really a good breakdown. You'll see like a recent highlight of the last 7 days. Here was the activity. Here's how many accounts you reached. Here's the content interactions, how many followers you got. It'll break it down into the different types of content. So how many likes did you get over the week? Here's different accounts that were reached, and here's the best days that performed. So you might look at that and say, you know what, Wednesday did really well. So when I'm doing like an announcement or doing something important, I'm going to go for Wednesday because I know that's when it worked really well for people. It'll give you some great thing like follows, unfollows. It gives you a breakdown pretty much of everything, and it's all right there. So as soon as you click on insights, you can just click on all the different options and just read the data. It's not, again, they've made it very easy for you to understand how things work, how things perform. It's really not difficult, and it's not overwhelming to see. Just as long as you know where to go for it, it's going to tell you, okay, we got this amount of likes, this amount of comments, shares, etc. And then you just go off of that. You can see, okay, I don't have a screenshot of it here, but you're actually able to go into each post that you've done, and even on your, like, if you go onto your profile and click on the post, there's like a little view insights button at the bottom. You can see how many people saw that or interacted with it or did whatever with it. It's very transparent, and the data is very obvious. Once you know where to find it, it's just, okay, I find on Instagram, the videos are doing really well, so I'm going to stick with doing that for like the major announcements. It's pretty straightforward in that sense. I'm going to talk a little bit about free and paid apps to help you save time. I really like to help people learn from my mistakes from being in the industry and just being like, I've got 8 million things to do. I don't have time to organize. I don't have time to do this. Don't do that. You can just use one of these apps, and it's going to help you a lot, I promise. So my favorite free app is Creator Studio. Back in the day when I first started, you could schedule your posts directly on your business page. You can't do that anymore. You have to use Creator Studio. So it is a free way to schedule your posts in advance. There's Hootsuite. I do not recommend using that. I've had so many issues with Hootsuite, and it's the one everybody uses because it's the most common. I give it a major thumbs down. It is a horrible platform. I don't recommend using it, but that's my personal opinion. I schedule content on a large base. So like 14 clients, 12 posts a week. I schedule them all a month in advance. So I need to have something that works. Creator Studio is my go-to. I don't really recommend Hootsuite. Canva is great for creating content, but you can actually schedule directly out of Canva to your social media as long as you've got them linked together. Buffer and Airtable are some apps that you can use. I believe Buffer is a like social media scheduling platform, whereas Airtable also is, but it's also like a delegating task. So if you've got more than one person helping you with social media, you can say, so-and-so, I want you to do a mailer today, and delegate that task to them. So I do want to note that the only free app really is Creator Studio. You'll never have to pay for it. All the other ones above they have free options, and you can get away pretty much with it like as the free version. But obviously if you pay for it, you get a little bit more bang for your buck. That's how all the apps and softwares work. So Creator Studio is the only free, like true free one. I know with Hootsuite, we were using it and we got a notification that said you can only use 2 accounts, and then once you want to go above that, you have to pay for it. So for me, it's just not worth it when you can get a better experience on Creator Studio. So for paid ads, I use Uprise for ad management. So basically what it is I can find audiences for my ads. I can schedule and just have them in there as reusable ads. It's a very good way to kind of map out the effectiveness of ads and how many people went to your website, how many people add something to a cart, all that good stuff. So I recommend that. For working with a team, Asana and Trello, I recommend. They are both kind of managing systems. So you communicate and you delegate tasks that way. Slack we use for communication. So it's kind of like a messaging system where you can make different, like I can message somebody. I use it for my freelance. So when I'm talking to somebody who owns a business about their particular thing, I have my own channel for them, and we just talk back and forth about the freelance stuff. ClickUp is really good for assigning tasks as well. Publer and Sched Social are for scheduling content. So those are some other paid apps you might want to look into, as well as Sprout Social. Are there questions, Brianna?
Oh, there are several questions here.
Oh, okay.
Anna was doing the Instagram stuff and looking at the stuff for us and seeing where we do well. And I look up and I go, oh crap, I gotta answer these questions. Okay, so we've got a few here. So if your personal page on Instagram used to get thousands of likes and hundreds of comments per post, and now only gets 100 to 200 likes and 10 to 20 comments, what could be the issue? Type of content is the same, cannot see the insights on my Instagram. It's probably because it's a personal page.
It's a personal page, yeah. I find a lot of times people will try to get away with doing a personal page for their business, because when you move from a personal page to a business page, you lose opportunities like if you're going to be doing Reels or IGTVs, you can't use music. Whereas with personal pages, you can. So people like to have the music for the Reels. So as soon as you switch over to business, you're not allowed to, because it's copyright infringement to sell a product using somebody else's licensed music. If you are like a creator, I would recommend switching from a personal to a creator account. So there's technically 3. So there's personal, there's creator, and then there's a business. Creator, you get a little bit more leniency, but I think they're kind of shutting it down a little bit more. So with business, you just get you get less things, unfortunately, but I would really have to see your content to figure out what the issue is. So that's another one. If you wanted to send me like a screenshot, I could let you know. It could just be because it is a personal and you are trying to direct sell. Instagram is owned by Facebook, so it's got its own algorithm as well. So that could be a big factor in as to why you're not getting the same reach.
That person said, I've heard that if you switch from the personal page to business page, your organic reach reduces. That's why I switch back to personal, and I'm not trying to sell anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's your industry? Like, what do you do?
Just trying to build love for travel.
Okay, so yeah, I would recommend moving to a creator one. Just because then you can list yourself as if you blog, like if you're an active blogger about travel, or if you're just really into like good photography about travel. When you switch to a creator, it's got its own like scope and scale, and things are different. It could be maybe we need to look at what hashtags you're using, which way you're portraying information. There's a lot of different things that you could be doing, because I find sometimes people will look at what's performing well and just be like, okay, I'm just going to stick to this, and every Monday I'm going to be posting at this time. But things change, and you've got to always kind of keep on top of what's doing well and what isn't, and how people are interacting, because you can't just stick to the same thing and hope it works. Sometimes it is just trying different things out, and it is kind of switching up how you're doing stuff. It's just kind of the way of the game with marketing, and there's always new things happening, and you're always learning. So you're never completely 100% on the ball. You've always got to keep up with the new things that are coming out.
He said, yes, I like blogging. I haven't changed my type of content. Most of my community, when I ask
Mhm.
them, they say that they can't see my content no longer shows in their feed.
Yeah, so that is an algorithm issue. If you want to email me after the webinar, I'd be happy to kind of like do some marketing speak with you because I think that would be beneficial.
AC, thank you. All right, so we've got a few more questions.
Oh gosh, okay.
If you have taken over a business and they have 2 other Facebook accounts for the business and left the admin position,
Mhm.
and could not add people to take over the page, recreate a new Facebook business page. However, we need to delete the other 2 so there's no confusion. How would you go about that?
Yeah, so I actually had the same issue happen with one of the businesses that I worked for. They had a Facebook page and somebody had set it up on their behalf and they had no idea. If you know the person that has access to it, somebody has to have access to it in order for it to be there. They'll have to remove it. Otherwise, you'll have to file a support ticket with Facebook to have it removed. I've had to do that also with LinkedIn as well. So you just have to provide proof of who you are and that you own this particular business and this is the account that you want, and you'll have to get them to remove it for you. So it's a bit of a hassle, and you may experience some wait times because unfortunately their support system is not great. But if you can't find whoever owns the page to actually delete it, then that's the only other option that you have. Alternatively, you can make sure that you let people know, like if you've got an email list, and you can let them know that you have a new Facebook on your website. Make sure that the proper Facebook is linked so that people, when they click through to your social media, they know where to go. That's the best that you can do in the meantime until those pages get removed.
All right, and one last question. Do you use a CMS?
A client management system? I don't. I use a CRM. So I use Active Campaign, which is an email marketing platform. So essentially, what happens is that anytime somebody purchases a course or signs up for something free or signs up for our newsletter on our website, everybody gets put into Active Campaign, and then I've got automations set up. We work a little bit differently, I think, than some businesses, and everybody will find a system that works better for them. I like to do all of my customer relationships very organically. So I just email them, or I'm on Zoom, or I'm calling or texting them. I work with them and the way that they like to do things. But when we've got people on our email list, I communicate with them. I've just got automation set up out of the wazoo so that we can communicate with people at different points of their journey with us. So we do have a new one that we are integrating called Dubsado, which essentially streamlines our processes. So from the time somebody has a Zoom meeting with us, there's follow-up, there is the contract gets deployed. Once the contract is sent in, signed, then there's a bunch of stuff that is like stage release. So I find as you get more, as you grow your business, you're going to want to streamline a lot of processes because it saves up a lot of time. All that manual stuff that you might enjoy doing now on a smaller scale becomes a big pain as you grow. So automate and streamline your processes where you can.
All right, and then she said, you mentioned content repository? Wonder if you have a tool or just backup drives? And she said, but thank you for answering the client management question.
Yeah, I just use the Excel sheet. So some people are a little bit more fancy and they like having a software or an app. I know with Asana you can put your content and everything in there, but I like just having like a digital document where I can just put things into my Excel spreadsheet and then just copy and paste as needed. So in the content calendar that I will be sending with Brianna, it does have a content repository Excel spreadsheet in there if you want to use it. It's all personal. It's all based on what you prefer.
All right, so we do have one more question, but let's try to get through the rest of these slides here. So if anyone that does have to leave right now or sometime soon, we'll get to the last question here after you've done the slides. This is also recorded as well, so if you did miss part of it, then you're more than welcome to see the rest of the PowerPoint.
Yeah, so I just want to talk a little bit about what my favorite ones were. So Canva definitely is one of my personal favorites for creating content. And then being able to share that content with my team members. So I do recommend that. And I do always say, just pay the $15 a month, because you're getting a lot for reasonable, like very, very cheap. A creator studio is amazing. I highly recommend it. I'm just going to try to move. You guys are all on the bottom here. I just want to move you over a little bit. So I like to use Creator Studio, and every time I say this to people, they're like, what the heck is Creator Studio? But it is essentially the free way to schedule your posts in advance. So they're currently doing some updates, but to access the Creator Studio, what you do is you go on your business page and select publishing tools on the left-hand side. Again, you're going to get a whole list on the right-hand side or left-hand side of options. You're going to want to click on Creator Studio, and it'll bring you to this page. As you can see, you can schedule on Facebook, and then you'll link your Instagram page to Creator Studio, so you can publish on both. So you can click on these icons and it'll switch between Instagram and Facebook. So I use this for everything. Your content's in here. You can see what's scheduled and what's upcoming and what's done well. It'll break everything down. Sometimes it'll do this weird thing where it doesn't quite have the views and stuff ready for you. It doesn't mean that nobody saw it. It just means that it's reading the data. But all the insights will also be in here. I'll tell you how things did. And it really depends on what type of content you've gotten. So, or what you've put in that week, those insights will tell you over a 7-day period how things went. Highly recommend using Creator Studio because it is amazing. It saved me so much time. So two other personal favorites I want to talk quickly about is Asana. So again, you can see here, you can break different tasks down. You can assign them to people and say, okay, my head of marketing is doing this. I'm giving them this task. I'm assigning a deadline to it so that everybody's on the same page about your marketing efforts or whatever's going on with your business, and they can fulfill their, what's expected of them appropriately. Because if they don't know, then they don't know. And this is a good way to keep track so nothing falls in the cracks. Trello is one that I use with one of my clients. The great thing about, I guess, me presenting this is that I've had a lot of experience with different tools, because I'm literally onboarding people who have their own way of doing things, and I have to learn them. So I've had a lot of experience with things that are good and things that are bad. Trello is amazing. It's essentially a board where you can break down different tasks or different things that you have going on and assign them like a due date, tell people who they are. You can have active communications in Trello of, okay, we're doing a social media campaign and so-and-so is responsible for this. Can we maybe change this? It's really a great way to just get your whole team involved. I don't know how many of you are just doing it solo, but if you're really planning on like expanding and being large, like having a big reach, then these kind of softwares will really come in handy like later on. So I'm just going to wrap up super quick. So tips for success and to recap. So understand your audience, like how do they like to receive content and how do they view it? So is it going to be on mobile? Is it going to be on desktop? Create your posts in relation to that. Design your images with less text where possible. So Facebook by nature really just does a number on posts that have a lot of text. The rule is really 20% less text than image. So just keep your image or your text short. It's okay every now and then to do like a long quote of like a really nice picture, but don't do it every time. Use a good mix, even if you know videos are the most impactful, just to keep your content refreshing and hammer home those important messages. And sometimes it's good to just do a blog, because if you're providing somebody with information and they want to learn more, you're pushing them to the website, then they're already on your website. They might have a browse at your products or your services. They might contact you, whatever. They're already on your website. So it's just a good way to get people involved with different online platforms that you have. Again, keep your captions short, sweet, to the point. And then schedule a few things or schedule like a few weeks or a couple months of content in advance, and then keep everything organized in files so that you can find them later on. This really does help you keep from posting subpar content, because you might have realized you forgot that day and you need to get something up. You want everything that you post to be a labor of love for your business. And I really mean that. You want them to see that you care about the messages that you're sending out there, because if you don't care, they're definitely not going to care. So make sure that you're putting effort into your posts to make them look nice, to put some thought behind them, because that's really what's going to get people engaged. Systemize your whole process. Even if you're small scale, just do it. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Find what works for you and stick to it. If that means an app or like a simple Excel spreadsheet like me, use that method. Don't try what somebody else is trying just because it's out there. Do what works for you, because it's going to make your life a lot easier. And make a point to set time aside for creating, organizing, and scheduling your social media content. At the beginning of the month, I always set a couple of days for my clients to just really devote to planning their next month out and getting their content ready, and then letting them have the time to talk to me about what they liked and what they didn't like. Engage with your followers as frequently as you can and respond to messages in a timely fashion. So if you're asking them to drop a heart emoji for something that you've posted or talk about something that they love about your business, respond to them. Don't just leave it and hope that they are commenting and those comments are going to get more engagement. You want to engage and respond as much as possible. So look at your analytics often to know when the best dates and times are to post. It does change. So have a quick look once a week just to adjust if you need to. Some people are lucky and they don't have to do much adjustment, but it's good to just keep on top to make sure that you're posting at the best times. Pre-plan as much as you can. So if you know you have a product sale or contest upcoming, don't wait until a few days before to start promoting it or the day of. Lead up to it. Be very conscious about what you're doing. If it's a contest, maybe you're going to do an email, maybe you're going to do some social media posts, maybe you're going to drop it in a webinar. Like, just think about different ways to talk about what it is that you're doing and use it to your advantage. There's tons of things that you can be doing. It's not just social media. Like, you can use social media as a piece to something bigger. Boost posts that perform well if you have a budget for paid social media. So some people don't, but if you've got a budget for paid advertising, any post that does really well, just put an ad spend behind it, because if it's done well organically, it's been proven that it's going to do well as an ad. So that's kind of my tips for your content. If you have any questions about that, let me know, because I'm more than happy to answer those.
All right. So we've held on to mostly everybody here. A few people had to step out. So I'll answer this last question here. If any other questions, guys, just put them in the chat and we will get to them. So when you are getting hundreds of messages, how do you keep up with replying to everyone in a timely fashion? Is there some way to do an automatic response for messages that are very similar?
Yeah, so you can actually do automatic responses on Facebook and Instagram. For example, a lot of the times when people are looking for outsourcing assistant with different things, they'll send us a message on social media and say, hey, I'm looking for such and such. We have an automated message set up to say, you can actually have it personalized. So it pulls that person's first name. So it says hey, Brianna, thank you for your inquiry. Here's a link to schedule with our team. So then that link takes them to a Calendly link, which essentially says, do you need help with marketing? Do you need help with admin? Do you need help with virtual assistant? What do you need help with? And then when they're able to list what it is they need, the invitation goes to the appropriate person. So we've essentially made it so that there's not a lot of back and forth, because the back and forth is really killer. Like, if people are on the fence or if they're asking a lot of questions, sometimes it can be hard to respond. So if you set up an autoresponder with just book an appointment with me and we can do a call, it saves you a lot of time with that back and forth. There is, like I said, there is an option on Facebook and Instagram, and you can make it so it seems very personal and not like a robot. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes people are off-put by the automated messages because it seems very stiff. You can personalize it as much or as little as you need to.
All right. They say, how do you do that?
Oh gosh, it's not a long process, but there's a specific place for you to find it. If you want to email me, I can give you a little Loom tutorial video on how to do it.
Okay, this is the one with the Instagram with the tourist one.
Oh, yeah. Email me whatever you need, and I'd be happy to just give you some quick tutorials. To shoot a video and walk you through it is very simple for me. Also, if you have a business page and you're getting messages, there is the option to create folders, or I can't remember what the term is, but you can essentially star it so that if you haven't responded, it gives you a reminder to respond to it. It just makes it high priority, especially if it's a hotter lead. So it's somebody that you know is for sure gonna buy a product or enroll for a service. Then you can just keep everything organized and know what you have and haven't responded to. I actually do